everyone. I've had quite a lot of people send me emails about the eText question 10.3 regarding contribution margins. They're getting a bit confused, so I thought it might be best to do a video for everyone. This is a bit of a different style format video than I'm used to, so let me know if you like it or you don't, and I'll either keep doing it or I won't. Given that we're leading up to the exam, if anyone has any questions that they're struggling with, send me an email and I will do you a video if you want on the solution for it. So I think sometimes going through it together and working through it together is a bit easier than just like reading out of a textbook. I personally would probably get a bit confused with that. So when you got someone explaining it on the other end, it might make it a bit easier for you guys, and I want you all to maximize your marks in the exam, so everyone passes, and then I can see you in later units throughout this. I mean, maybe I won't because most of you aren't doing accounting, but anyway, hopefully I get to see everyone again. But let's get back to the questions. So down here, if you follow my cursor, so here are our questions that we have to complete. Whoopsie. I will highlight that in yellow. And then up here in our dirty purple, we've got all the information provided. So we've got two categories of products. It's our printers and our faxes. And then over here in column D, we've got our total. So this is a little quick calculation on profit. So what's happening here is we've got our sales, these are our variable costs, and then our contribution margin. So this is split up between printer and faxes here, and this is our total CM margin. So it's obviously not per unit, it's per total volume. Direct fixed costs, so this is split up between printer and faxes, but we don't really need it, we just need the total, and then these are common fixed costs of the company itself. So total fixed costs, which is important for the second part of this question, is 972,000, and our profit is 394,000. So that's all our information. One thing that you notice is we don't know how many units have sold. Okay, so we're having to calculate things a little bit differently, which I'll go in to explain. So in order to calculate everything, you actually don't need to, you can manipulate formulas to show figures in different ways. So usually you guys are used to expressing contribution margin and break-even point in a per unit basis, but in this case we're not. We're doing it in totals, which is fine. You don't have to. You just work with the information that you have. All right, so first question, we are calculating the CM margin ratio. This is basically just looking at the contribution margin in a percentage form. So how do we do it? The formula equals CM over sales. Super easy. What I'll do is I will bring this over, copy, paste. Our formula, watch what I'm doing, equals contribution margin, so we're calculating the printers first, over sales, so total sales of the printers. Okay, there's our answer. What we can do, this is a little Excel trick, hold that little square box, bring it across, and there we go. So if we do a little percentage, here are our percentages here. So you can see that. So total is our total contribution margin ratio over our total sales, which equals 29.12%. Now, quick note here, I am going to make this red. So this is correct. This answer is correct. In your eText, they've rounded it up. They've rounded it up to 29%. They don't look at the decimals. Not saying it's right or wrong. Hang on. We actually need to express this as a percentage because we're using Excel. So I'll go 0.29, I'll press my percentage. Okay, so this is eText. You'll understand why I'm stating this. Who's more right? I'm going to say I'm more right. eText would like to think they're more right, but I'll make that, oh shoot. Let's give it its little background there. eText total. Alright, so it just really depends. Your answers are going to change based on whether you have the decimal places or you don't. Okay, that's very important for part 2. So we're done. That's question 1. That's contribution margin ratio. Yay. Cool. Move on to next one. So we are calculating the break-even sales. Okay, we're not looking break-even per unit, it's break-even sales. So what we also need to do, despite it not stipulating in the question over here, We also need to break it down. So break even sales for printers and faxes. So this kind of assumed. All right, so break even point, what we need to do is we need to look at, first we need to get our, I'll write the formula down so my brain doesn't fry. So we go fixed costs, divide by our CM margin. Whoa, margin, my spelling's not great. So we're going to say total, and this is going to be total, okay? So this is our formula. This is how we are calculating the break-even sales. How do we do that? Watch my cursor. Equals 972 over total CM margin. So this is where I'm going to use my total. All right, there's our figure. But if we use the straight 29%, so 972 over that equals 351. So if you look in the eText, this is the answer they're giving you here. All right. Do I agree with it? This really should be your answer here. So we're going to, let's grey that one out. Either one, if you're in the exam and use either one of these two, you'll be right. Okay, it just really depends on how you calculate, whether you round or whether you don't. Okay, in my opinion, with all maths, accounting stuff, you always round to 2 decimal places. Okay, all right, so that's our break-even sales right there, total. So what we have to do is now break it down per product. So how on earth do we do that? So we can do this through a thing called sales mix. Mix. Whoa, mix, there we go. Okay, I'm going to write the formula here, which equals product sales over total sales. So what does a sales mix show? It shows percentage of sales of the printer over the total sales. So what percentage do it make? So it's like the printers. Total printers over the total sales. There we go, 65%. We go faxes over total. There we go, 34%. What we can do is we can make that a percentage. There we go. All right, so now we have the sales mix. Then we can go break, help if I could spell, break even per product. So this is our break even sales. That's very important. So what we do is we go, here's our answer. So I'm using my numbers. So if you look at my answers for this break even sale, it will be a bit different. I will show you how the eText got it. Then, so we're getting at the total break even sales, applying it to the printer sales mix. There we go. So we'll do that the same for the faxes. There we go. So what I'm going to do is underneath, I'll highlight it in grey. But if we're using this one that the eText uses, there we go. So it's the same as the eText. Which one's more correct? Mine. Because I've carried on the formula throughout, so it's more correct. Yes, this is correct, but here where they're rounding it to no decimal places, they're rounding it to a whole number. That means it's a little inaccurate. So it's not my favorite. I just think I'm more correct. Anyway, there's our answer here, break even sales. So that's it. That's all we need to calculate. We've answered your 2 things. We have up here, 1, your contribution margin ratio here, and 2, our break even sales broken down by printers and faxes. Now in the eText questions over here, you can see here, I'm going to try and highlight it for you. It's got these funny numbers here. How on earth do we calculate that? It took me a while to figure out this. You don't need to calculate it for the purpose of this question, but I thought I might just calculate it for you. So average CM ratio, which equals, okay, this is for the printer CM dollar value over total CM dollar value. All right, brackets, divide by total CM margin ratio. Whew. So let's do that. Let's do this calculation just so you guys understand, because that's the main aim. We want you to understand everything. So printers, brackets are super important. So the calculator or Excel knows which formula to do first. So we are doing printer CM dollar value, which is 836000 over. I got the formula incorrect. I'll change it in a second. Actually, let me just quickly change it here. Sorry guys, that's not divide, that's a times. All right, let's go back. So we've got contribution margin over the total contribution margin. Okay, brackets that. Then we times it by total CM contribution margin ratio. I'm just for the purpose of this, I'm going to use the eText one so you can. Actually, no, I think they use this one. I think they flip. We'll check. And then we're going to do our faxes, so total CM faxes over the total CM times by, let's do my one. Let's change that to a percentage. Flip back over, 17.82, 11.22. Close enough, I think. Let's see what happens if we change that to I8. So we're using the eText one. There we go, that's more like it. So I think the eText solutions, yes, they're correct, but they're a little bit over the place. If you do it in Excel, it's a bit more easier. You can really see the formulas carrying on. So there we go. I'll reverse that. So I just press Control Z, so that's calculating it out of my total, not the eText total. So that is our average CM ratio there calculated. Look, you guys probably don't need to calculate this. I haven't seen the exam. I don't know whether you're going to have to calculate this in your exam, but I can't see where it's going to be required in a large formula. So I probably wouldn't focus on this. I really just wanted to explain it so you guys knew how these figures over here were calculated, because they're a bit weird. But I wouldn't stress too much about that. I would know your CM margin ratio up here. I'd know how to calculate break-even sales and your sales mix, and then how to split up the break-even sales here. All right, so I hope that helped